What's up, everybody? Welcome to a special episode of. I don't think we have a name for this show. We're just basically talking about stuff on our YouTube channels. It is not spectator mode. It's basically us two fans of Transformers talking about the upcoming season, Transformers War for Cybertron, Season 2, Chapter 2, 2 something, whatever. This is Earthrise. This is the upcoming follow-up to the first episode, to the first season or first chapter of War for Cybertron, where Prime and his company are up to some silly stuff. But first and foremost, before we get into it, I want to give a big thanks to Netflix for providing us access to this so we get to see it early and talk about it. We do have a review coming out at the same time as this video comes out. We are following the embargoes, Netflix. We're being good boys. We're not going to do what you said not to do. So you're fine.
Yeah.
Don't cut us off. All right. So there are going to be spoilers, folks, up until the last one that we really can't reveal. So if you don't want to hear about them, you probably want to stop watching.
Yeah, I would highly recommend probably giving this a secondary view after December 30th when the actual show hits Netflix.
And you watch it.
Watch it all the way through, then come back and listen to what we have to say. Otherwise, if you don't mind having parts of the story spoiled for you or character discussions and stuff like that, then, please continue watching.
Yes, please. All right, so this... I keep saying season, but part 2 takes place basically right after the first season or the first chapter of the trilogy, where we see a slightly frustrated and desperate Megatron pretty much doing whatever he needs to do to keep his troops in Cybertron running. It's running from the same dynamic that we saw in the first one, where Megatron isn't this maniacal character that we saw in the cartoons. He's actually thoughtful. He cares about his fellow Decepticons. And we even see him make a trip out to a factory with a bunch of Decepticons that aren't doing well. He actually goes to visit them to see what's going on. He shows compassion, and it's like, wow, Megatron really has a bunch of different layers here. I wasn't expecting him to do that. And he's actually, I think at some point he's swallowing his pride, and he's not being rude, he's not being ignorant, he's being thoughtful, he's being kind, he's talking to him. And then he sees all these Transformers that are pretty much useless. And then he goes, all right, I'm done. And then he leaves.
Megatron in this series is more
human?
He's more, I wouldn't say human, but he's more compassionate than he is in other parts of media. The closest comparison would be probably the more recent IDW runs, where he actually is more of a revolutionary. He's not a dictator. He's a revolutionary. He's seeing things from a certain perspective that makes him believe that he is doing the right thing for the residents of Cybertron.
Yes.
By creating the Decepticons, by leading them as a formulated group, and the plan that he does, which he calls the Nemesis plan, which
spoilers
had multiple connotations this season. He believes he's doing the right thing. Like the original idea, which was put forth in Siege or Part 1, was that he was getting the Allspark because he wanted to reformat all the Cybertronians into one singular thought, which was, to follow him and the way he thinks, which plays a pretty big part in this in Earthrise.
I think it goes without saying that the Allspark and what Megatron wanted to do plays a part throughout this entire trilogy, because that is always a constant theme, and even here it's a constant theme.
Yeah, that's basically the MacGuffin that they're going for. But at the same time, we've learned that there's more to the way the Transformers universe works than just the Allspark itself being this all-powerful object.
Yeah. Yep. And I want to prefix this because we missed out our part here. Again, even though it takes place after Siege, end events of Siege pretty much was Prime takes the Allspark, he shoots it through a space bridge, and now he goes, "Oh crap! I just doomed Cybertron. I need to go get this. I need to go find this thing now." So him and a couple of Autobots board the Ark, and they go, and at the end of the season, they're seemingly destroyed. So Megatron is like, well, darn it, Prime, you freaking moron! I got to do this all by myself now, and it goes back again to showing Megatron that he's actually compassionate, because he didn't go, well, I'm done, kill everybody, do whatever. He's still trying to find a way, even though the means that he does, which is basically harvesting the spark of Autobots and Decepticons to keep the lights running, is basically the I will do whatever I need to do to keep things running. Damn it all, I don't care. I need to do what I need to do, which is where the Nemesis project comes in, which, if you're a fan of Transformers, the second you heard that word Nemesis, you were like, ooh.
You had two different connotations on the term Nemesis. Long-term Transformers fan will see it one way. People who just watch the trailer will see it a different way. Because the term Nemesis means two different things in the Transformers universe.
So that popped up. And all while this is happening, and we're talking about bits and parts, so we're fanboys.
We're gonna bounce all over the story from different episodes. We're not chronologically doing this in order for any particular reason or anything like that. That's for you to see. That's for you to watch. We're just sort of going, hey, we like this, we like that, we don't like this.
Yeah, the good parts and the bad parts, not everything, because it'll be no fun. Then what was the point you watching it in the first place? But getting back to Megatron, it's great to see. And again, since Prime, I think it's Prime, it's Ironhide, it's Bumblebee, it's RC, it's Cog, one other unnamed Transformer that dies.
Ultra Magnus is still hanging around, even though he doesn't really do much.
So I'm talking about everybody who's on the arc. So those who disappear.
Okay, that's just the arc, because then you've got like the Decepticon side, which you still have like the usual Starscream, Soundwave, Shockwave. Even Double Dealer, a few other like more. That was one thing I noticed this season, just to sort of mention offhand, was there was a lot more sort of obscure and not overly used characters that have popped up in this season.
Oh, I like that though.
Like Double Dealer, Cog, like they're not your standard Transformer storytelling fare.
And Double Dealer got a new design.
Yes.
I was like, wait, that was this thing. Okay, so for those who only watch the Transformers
are you confusing Double Dealer with Counterpunch?
It might be Counterpunch.
Because if you're thinking the one Transformer that can transform between Autobot and Decepticon, that's Punch/Counterpunch.
Okay.
Not Double Dealer.
I was like, wait, is that the
Yes, I'm a nerd. Shut the hell up.
No, we're talking about Transformers. Come on now. So they're on the arc. Like you said, Megatron still has his cronies. We also see the two Coneheads. They're introduced eventually in this as well.
Yep.
And the Coneheads are still the Seekers, but when they transform, they keep the cones on their head, which is why they're called Coneheads. And then we still have Jetfire.
And by Coneheads, you're talking Thrust and
Dirge.
Dirge.
Yeah. So we still got Jetfire, Elita 1, Cronus, Red Alert.
Yep.
Was that it?
Let's see. Do we have any Wheeljack?
No, Wheeljack.
Hound.
Wheeljack's with Arc. Wheeljack's on the arc.
Okay, same with Hound and Mirage.
Yeah, Prime has most of the Transformers. If you think about it.
Prime has most of the
original Transformers.
Prime has most of the originals, and RC has the Generation 2
RC's with Prime. Elita's with
that's right.
RC's with Prime. Elita's on Cybertron still. Yeah, if you think about that, didn't hit me till just now. Prime has
the 2005 series. Yeah,
he has most of those guys. So, there's a ragtag team of Autobots still on Cybertron fighting against the Decepticons, outnumbered. But so when we first see them in the opening episode, they're freeing prisoners from camps, and they're thinking they're freeing Autobots. Well, they end up freeing Decepticons and Autobots alike, and it adds a recurring theme where Elita 1, who is now the leader, and Jetfire are butting heads because Jetfire's like, they're Decepticons. Screw those guys. We don't need to save them. And she's like, they're Transformers. We need to save them. And right then and there, you see a lot of Prime rubbing off.
For those who don't understand why Jetfire's upset, well, Jetfire still has the original storyline that he had in the G1s, where he started out working with the Decepticons, and they basically said, "Well, you're not exactly one of us, so screw you and get out." And he turned into an Autobot, so that's why he still harbors a bit of a grudge against the Decepticons.
I also don't understand why he has his Earth transform mode, where the Seekers still have their Cybertron mode. I'm like, wait, they never answered that question.
Look, do not question the alt modes.
I love his alt mode, but it was like, why? So, I mean, there's not really much in the first episode other than just that. It's funny. It's basically reintroductions to the old cast, Megatron, and what he's up to.
Bit of a catch up on if you didn't catch Siege. Here's what's happened, etc.
Omega Supreme is still missing, even though he showed up once and he's gone. So you won't see him at all. You'll see him once, but it's not really him. But you won't see him in this chapter or this second part.
You probably won't see him for the rest of the show.
Yeah, you probably won't. So if you're a fan of Omega Supreme like I am, you're going to be disappointed with that one. But yeah, first one was a catch up. We move over to the second one. The second episode is actually really good because we're introduced to a mercenary team of Transformers.
Yes.
And these guys are pretty much working for the Quintesson. Didn't say Quintessons because there's only one. So we're quickly introduced to some old faces.
I was about to say, could you really say one when they have multiple faces?
It's multiple faces
and multiple personalities.
So it's still one person.
But they have multiple faces with multiple personalities. So
not for long.
Sons, there's one or two.
Not for long. So we're introduced to a Quintesson, and the Quintessons seem to have their same story. They're pissed off about the Transformers, and apparently their backstory maybe a little different. Where the Transformers?
No, the backstory mirrors the original one from
I thought there was little
Transformers
differences.
season.
I thought there was a slight difference in that.
Transformers season 3, the original G1 series, where they are the creators of the Cybertronians,
Right.
had them as slaves, and then they revolted and were able to drive them away from the planet.
But now that's the
exact same story as they had in season.
So who
3.
gave the original Transformers the ability to transform? Because they're saying it was the Allspark, and I know the Allspark played a big part later, or Vector Sigma.
That would have been Vector Sigma in the G1 series, but they changed it to the Allspark for more recent series.
Okay, so we'll leave it at that. And there's a lot of throwbacks to the Transformer movie here. We see them in a similar place. They have the similar pit, even though it's not filled with waters and Sharktacons. I always thought it was weird they were called Sharktacons, though. But all right, there's only one Quintesson, and I'm just thinking, that was pretty much it. And pretty much Quintesson's pissed off because they revolted. They took over everything, and
this was your one of two big nostalgia based episodes.
Yeah.
This was one where you got lines out of the movie like Megatron turning on Starscream and going, "I still function," and Starscream going, "Yep." Back. So I'm like, yes,
it was a lot. There's a lot of nostalgia dropped into this entire season. But before that,
and considering that Keith and I are two people who can pretty much quote the movie line for line from start to finish, we were going hard on this one.
So again, we're bouncing around. So again, this episode opens up. The Ark is found. The mercenaries get the Ark because the Quintessons pretty much told them, go find these guys. We want Prime. We want the Matrix. They find them, and there's a bunch of duplicators of Bumblebee and Wheeljack and there's a couple other ones. They were pretty much, they didn't really give them names.
Hound the Mirage?
Yeah, they don't really give them names. But they're just discolored versions of the Transformers. The only one that has a name was Double Dealer. That was it. So they get them. There's a scuffle. Bumblebee, as always, tries to get into a fight. Prime's like, dude, just stop. And then they get taken to the Quintesson. So and this goes from there. And again, there's a lot of nostalgia kicking off in that episode. We get to see the Quintesson doing something that they didn't do in the actual cartoons, where they were actually fighting themselves. Quintessons are 5-faced beings, and there's 5 personalities. And they were fighting. So every couple of seconds, they had to have this meeting. They had to have this
Yeah,
consensus.
they
where
have
they
to
talk-
come to consensus.
Yeah, they had to talk about what was going on and what route they were going to do. And I forget the actual name. I think it was Death or whatnot. She pretty much was like, you know what? I'm done with all you guys, and cut the faces off of everybody. I was like, wow, okay, she's ruthless. And then she's like, you know what? We're done with this. Everybody's going to die. Not counter punch, but Double Deal was like, where's my money? And she's like, you better get out of my face. You get nothing. You better go before I kill you. And then of course she goes, yeah, you and what army? And she's like, this army, you moron. And it's like, oh, did you not see that coming, you idiot? So he teams up with Prime and helps Prime get away. And that was pretty much it. It was just, that episode was nostalgia. You didn't see much of Megatron in that one. Well, you did see him.
No.
Only time you saw Megatron was when he found out that Prime was alive, because the two Coneheads are working with the mercenaries. So they told Megatron, hey, we found the Ark. And Megatron's like, son of a bee. So we see we finally get to know what the Nemesis is.
How many lives do you have, Prime? Why do you survive while I suffer the consequence?
And this is I like this Megatron. Before he goes off the deep end, I like this guy. So
it's the great dynamic here is between Prime and Megatron, and this is one that again has been established in other media over recent years. Is instead of them being diametric opposites to each other, Prime being the ultimate good, all beings must have rights, etc., etc., and Megatron being, screw your rights, I'm going to dominate you with an iron fist. They have like a background where Megatron, he came up from the slave pits and the mining pits and the gladiatorial arena. Meanwhile, Prime was like a part of the political and jurisdiction part of Cybertron, but they end up being friends earlier in life when Prime was Orion Pax, and they both started, they actually started off having the same ideals for what Cybertron could be. It's just that over time, Megatron's ideals sort of shifted away from sort of working with everybody to going, well, it might be better if we just dominate them instead. And that's what caused the rift between the two. And every now and again, you get moments in this series where the two are together, usually privately, and they'll start talking like they're all friends.
Yeah, there's a lot of backstory that if you haven't seen the first part of this Siege, you need to watch it, because
not even that. You're gonna have to actually go on a friggin' war hunt.
I mean, for this episode, a lot of this is self-contained. I mean, it does take bits and pieces of other, but they at least explain that Megatron, Prime, and Ultra Magnus were all under the tutelage of
tutelage.
He was
and they were actually all up for the post of the next Prime.
Yep. So you got to go back to watch
there you go, Transformers fans. Megatron could have been on Prime
or Ultra Magnus. Who was a Prime? A toy.
Well, Magnus has had that leadership role, but he hasn't actually been like a proper Prime.
I'm talking about the toy, man.
In any type of media.
The first Transformers Ultra Magnus was a freaking Prime, a white painted Prime.
Yeah, but they've always done.
No, they haven't always done that. The new ones haven't.
No, I
got one behind me.
A lot of the recent stuff, all that stuff that you see on him is all armor. He's still this shriveled old white dude.
No, he's not. The new one.
They're pulling a Vader on her.
The new one, he's self-contained. He doesn't come out.
Yeah, true. But there have been other more recent ones as well where he is still that white transform with a ton of armor on him.
Getting back to it's interesting that they keep showing how each one of these guys, well, not Magnus anymore, all came up together and they all had this kind of relationship. Because even here, Megatron is talking to the head of Ultra Magnus, because he's literally still talking to him. And when you hear him talk, you hear him talk to Ultra Magnus, and you hear him refer to him to other people of Ultra Magnus, and Megatron clearly had a lot of respect for him. He was like, he was my friend.
Yeah,
he was a good soldier. But it's like, but you had him killed. Okay, I don't want to be your friend.
He was still alive in this part. He was still captive.
No, in Siege, he took them. Megatron was like, "Show me where the Autobot base is," and Ultramatic said, "All right, fine, I'm taking you to the base." And then he took him to an abandoned tower, and Megatron was like, "What is this?" And then he killed him. I'll never tell you where.
I'm gonna go and rewatch Siege.
And he killed him. It's like, oh, you died there. But yeah, Megatron killed him. But yet he holds him in such a regard. But that was pretty much episode 2. Again, there wasn't a lot of progression, but the story played out faster. There was just, I think they were going, hey, this is a love project for Transformers, OG Transformers fans. So
it's more so I think that they realized that they only have 3 parts to tell this particular story.
True.
Because you've got Siege, you've got Earthrise, and then you got the next part, which is Kingdom. And I think they realized that they went a bit too slow in Siege, and so they're trying to make up for it by making Earthrise a lot faster series.
Yeah,
only because of the content that's going to be coming in Kingdom, they needed to get a lot of this story out of the way very quickly.
One of the biggest complaints about the first one was it was too slow, and a lot of people felt it was drawn out. I did not feel that way in this one. In fact, when I binged it, and then I was like, "Wait, it's over? It's already over?"
Yeah, I did the same thing. I watched the 6 episodes, and by the time I got to the 6th one, I went, "Wait, was that I watched 6 episodes?"
Right.
I'm like, "That's 6 episodes. I want more."
All right,
which is great.
So moving on to episode 3. Episode 3 was pretty much priming them get away. They're realizing that their ship does not have enough energon to make it to where the Allspark is, or to find an Allspark.
They found an active space bridge, is what happened. And in order to get to it, they're like, okay, we can only get to this particular spot on the journey, but they end up finding one anyway.
Yeah, so when
that was pretty much it.
Yeah, they get to the space bridge. It was actually pretty good because this one was split between the events on Cybertron and what's happening with the Autobots. So
yeah,
this is where
it's like where the Autobots are traveling, then it switches over to what's going on Cybertron, so that way you're not stuck there watching some guys use quote unquote fast travel from a video game.
Yeah. And the most part of this is, again, Cybertron, you can pretty much ignore what's happening on Cybertron because pretty much Megatron is like, oh, we know where Prime is, we're out. So Megatron is removed from Earth or from Cybertron, basically leaving
and basically RC is basically playing catch up at this stage.
No, it's later one.
No, was that later?
RC's was.
I keep forgetting.
You're not used to having all these female Transformers. RC is pink. Right? So Alita is running her ragtag team with Decepticons or Autobots and Decepticons. So she's got both now.
See, it's not easy keeping track of all
this. She's got both. She's pretty much so she freed Decepticons, and eventually they get captured. She keeps going back and saving people, and Starscream and we're like, you know what, we're gonna trap this dumbass. So they set a trap. Another reference, Steeljaw, which was one of the cassettes from Blaster, who is nowhere to be found, gets captured. He gets tortured. They use him to send a fake signal. RCG, you're right. Alita one and them goes say who's in there, and it's like, surprise, this trap, and they trap them. So this is while Megatron is going.
Was this the part where we saw Shockwave with his new ability?
No, that was after.
Or am I thinking later? Okay,
that was later. So this one is right before Megatron leaves. This is where she's talking to Megatron. Megatron's like, "Join me," and it was really weird because the way it went down is Megatron's like, "Come talk with me," and then he's talking. And he's like, "You're a good soldier. I want you," and she's like, "Are we friends?"
It almost sounded like he was trying hard to ask her out on a date.
Right, he was like,
something.
"I want you," and it's like, "To join us." Like.
Yes,
with these guys,
context?
with these guys, no, they're dead. We're gonna kill them. Then I'm not coming. All right, then I'm gonna kill you too. Then they throw them in caves and cages, and then it's just basically all about going. Well, we need to get out of here. And Jetfire just being his dick, going, "Well, this is your fault, XYZ." And he repeats this. Before that, Starscream was there. He threw them in the cages, and he's like, "Tick tock." basically your time's almost up. And then Jetfire does the same thing after he gets done lecturing and going, well, you better think of something because tick-tock. It's like, oh, you're being a dick, aren't you? Why are you being that way?
Yeah.
And it's funny because it plays back to the first episode where she freed these Decepticons. And right as they're being led into the area where the spark is going to be taken, the Decepticons they freed rush into the base and free them. So it's like, you know, the good that you did was repaid. And we saw that
it goes to show, and this is another big thing, is that not all Decepticons agree with everything Megatron does. And the fact that he is harvesting sparks in order to power the Nemesis project was something a lot of them didn't agree with. So therefore, they turned around and said, "Okay, look, we're going to break ranks. We'll go and help the Autobots because hey, we don't want to die."
And it's another theme that we saw in the first one we saw in Siege, where they helped the Decepticons. They were basically Red Alert. Not Red Alert. Who was it? Not Red Alert. Red Alarm. No, Ratchet. Was it Ratchet? No. Yeah, it was Ratchet. He was repairing Decepticons.
Yeah.
And then
there are troops on both sides who do not believe or agree with what is going on in war, even though and some of them are part of a faction or ex-part of factions. And they keep popping up throughout the series. And they're not classed as the mercenary group because they are now classed as their own little clan with their own new logo and everything else. Yes. These are literally defectors or people who just don't agree with the cause anymore and have said, screw it, I'm going to be neutral.
Yep, pretty much. So we're seeing a lot of that happen. Then this is where Megatron gets the signal that, hey, we know where Prime is. He calls out Nemesis, which... Again, longtime fans of the series would know that was a ship that it came to Earth on, and it finally comes down and goes, "Yep, it was Nemesis. Look at that, awesome!" And then Megatron goes, "I'm out, bye," and leaves everybody. He's like, "I'm gone."
Peace.
So this is where Megatron departs Cybertron. Like I said earlier, he takes with him Starscream, Soundwave.
Basically, he does like Prime. He takes all the big names.
He takes everybody with the exception of Shockwave. Shockwave is left to his own devices, and he likes it that
way. Which is once again the same way that happens in G1.
Yep.
Shockwave was left in charge of Cybertron, while Megatron went to pursue them in the Nemesis. Again, it's again a lot of nostalgia, a lot of old style storylines playing out in a new era.
Yep, pretty much. And we're skipping over some stuff. We're not trying to tell everything. We're just getting through. We're giving you a quick summary of the story
overview,
and then we're going to talk about what we thought about it. So go ahead, Karl. I'll cut you off.
No, it's all good. I believe that if I remember correctly, this ended with a nice big sort of tease of big footsteps behind or something banging against the big door when they arrive at this space bridge.
So they get to the space bridge and they realize that, hey, there's a ship going through the space bridge, which is the first time they've ever shown this, because the ship, and any Transformer history with space bridges, is the ship is sitting in front of the space bridge, part of the ship through the space bridge. So one part is one place, the other part is another place. And they're like, well, we can't go to the space bridge now. So I think it was Wheeljack who was like, we can blow it up in certain places and it'll fall down. So they all go inside the ship. They start placing charges. They split up in teams. Megatron, by the way, has found them. It's following them. And this is where we get this big, hey, I see you. I know you're in there. I'm going to kick your butt, Prime. And they're Decepticon looking for Prime. Meanwhile, the Autobots run into another familiar face with a twist. So go for it, Karl.
Yeah, for those of you who are a fan of the season 4 or the Headmasters season of the original stuff, we get the return of Scorponok in the roundabout way. He's actually like the guardian of this space bridge. He still, for some reason, he has the Decepticon logo on it, but doesn't actually acknowledge Megatron for any reason whatsoever. Megatron actually shows up part way into this fight, too, by the way. because they find like they're gonna go look at the charges and they open up some door and out comes Scorpion. It's like, oh, okay, we done goofed it again. So they start fighting Scorponok, and then Megatron rocks up and is like, well, okay, that looks like a bigger thing we need to take care of, so I'll call a truce for the next 5 minutes, and we'll team up and try and blow this thing up. So we get Scorponok, who's basically calling them invaders or virus or intruders, whatever.
He was on contamination.
Contamination, that's right.
Never really explained why. He just
never. Well, sort of does in his own roundabout way. Scorponok's way of speaking is very disjointed and very all over the place. Like this is what happens when you leave a Transformer alone on a planet for God knows millions of years. You know, they tend to go a little insane. But he starts talking about his family, how these contaminants. The ones that rebelled against the creators and all that type of stuff. And it's like, okay, there's a big connection here. This is where we sort of realize the connection between the Transformers and the Quintesson. So the Quintesson being the creators and all that type of stuff. Yeah, so Scorponok goes on about that, and even makes references to Nebulous, which was the planet that they did the Headmasters stuff, the original 3-part.
I was geeking out when they said that. I was like, "Oh yes!" I was really hoping that.
Yeah, he said my planet was destroyed because we tried to rebel, so Nebulos is no more, or something along those lines. And that sort of gave you that little nod to that part of the history, because he's technically not a headmaster; he's just a gigantic robot,
right?
And we get the fall down the pit, but he only emerges in the robot form afterwards, which I sort of popped for. I'm like, yeah, baby. But that was a lot of that. That's sort of from there we had. They did sort of knock him out or destroy him or something. I can't remember if they destroyed him or they got him back down the hole.
They didn't really
go down the hole.
They never really showed that. They hit the gravity thing.
Prime threw a grenade at him and then shot it and almost blew up Megatron at the same time. And that knocked loose the gravity and Scorponok disappeared.
I think he came back though. Because that's when Prime and Megatron were talking and were like, we need to work together. And meanwhile, Megatron keeps trying to kill him. Prime's like, look, just stop. We got to do this together. And they come out.
Stop, goddammit! Just stop for 5 minutes.
And then that's when they pull the gravity thing. So I don't know what happened to him. I think they just because the Autobots were like, "Let's go. We got."
Might have to go and rewatch. We'll have to rewatch that.
They were like, "We need to get out of here. Let's go. Screw this noise. Whatever. We're gone. Bye."
Yeah.
Because it was Megatron, or I think it was Starscream, who actually blew up the ship.
Yeah. Starscream accidentally screwed it up, and it was. That's what I think. That was the episode that we got the I still function from Megatron, which was the pop line for the time being.
So
but after that, the chase continues pretty much.
Yeah, I mean that's pretty much it. So we're jumping out of there to the next episode. This episode is actually really interesting because this is where, if you watch the trailer,
of theories and interesting bits and pieces.
If you watch the trailer,
episode 5
for this. You would have saw Galvatron, and you would have been like me, like, wait, how is Megatron and Galvatron in the same darn place? This makes no sense.
But if you're someone like me who's an absolutely insane Transformers nerd, you'll remember a Marvel UK comic based around Transformers from around about, this probably would have been sometime about 94, 95, if I remember correctly, where there was a storyline called 2005, where Galvatron actually went back in time to try and aid Megatron. We're getting a sort of a roundabout way of telling that type of story in this episode.
So let's see here. I'm trying to formulate this without revealing too much. Screw it.
Oh, just
Starscream messed
time
up.
Travel.
Starscream messed up. He messed up. So when he blew up the ship, he blew up the space bridge, and we blew up the space bridge. He tore up a giant hole in the space-time continuation, where we get to find out that Alpha Trion had imprisoned another popular Transformer in this place called the dead world, and that was Skylinks. Skylinks makes an appearance. Why is he there? Because he wanted to make a leadership. He believed that he should have been a prime, and Alpha Trion was like, "Boy, you crazy."
Because he was one of the most powerful Transformers at the time, and Alpha Trion basically said, "Power does not equal the right to lead." And Skylinks didn't like that, so Alpha Trion said, "Don't push me, or else I'm going to banish you to the next dimension."
So basically, he pulled a Superman and used his
good and negative
was, and there you go. You're here now. You stay there forever. So pretty much, Skylinks he's a Transformer, so he's immortal, and he's just stuck in this universe with other people who were deactivated for some reason, but he was fine, just floating around and thinking about the errors of his ways with no way out because Alpha Trion was like, "You're going to stay here forever." And maybe
until a prime can release you with the power of the spark.
But coincidence, you happen to get a prime there because Starscream blew up the damn thing. If Starscream didn't blow up the ship, you would be there forever. So we get this nice little, "Hey, I'm Skylinks. This is what I did. I done screwed up. I understand what I did. I'm sorry. What did you do, Prime?" "Oh, I just shot the Allspark from Cybertron." "You did what?"
I needed the Allspark.
"Yeah, I messed up. I need to fix this. I know where to go." And Skylink's like, "Oh, I can help you figure that out." So then we get this whole,
if you release me,
we'll get this whole spiritual, "I'm teaching you how to be a better leader" thing. Use your heart, you'll find it. And meanwhile, Megatron's like,
and in the contrast version,
Megatron
same type of storyline.
Yeah. Megatron's still around. Megatron's like, "God darn it, where are we at right now?" But
he's chasing him down to Nemesis.
Yeah.
He's angry at Starscream. And he's like, I'm getting sick of Prime. I'm over all this. I just want to destroy everybody by this point.
Yeah, he's getting very grumpy now. He's very tired. He's starting to become the Megatron that we all know and love. And then all of a sudden, we get this scene straight out of the Transformers movie where Galvatron comes out of nowhere, complete with the vector graphics and everything. And it's like, "Ha ha!"
Oh, so glorious.
And I was like, "Wait, what?
So glorious.
What are you doing
so
here?"
glorious.
Megatron's like, "What is he doing there?" Meanwhile, I'm like, "How are you here?" And he's explaining everything. It's like, "I'm from the future."
Meanwhile, I'm from the future. I've come due to the hole in space-time continuum gave me a moment to come back in time, so I can make sure that my timeline happens, because if you don't kill Prime now, I don't exist.
And I'm like,
which again is the plot from 2005.
I'm like, what? This doesn't make any sense. So he's teaching Megatron how to use his feelings as his anger, because Megatron's like, "I'm just gonna blow him the hell up," and Galvatron's like, "Dude, that's not gonna work. Just stop."
Conventional weapons do not work. You have to use your rage and your hate and your. Basically, he's turning him into a Sith Lord.
So it was,
which I found absolutely hilarious. It was Galvatron's cool. The anti-Yoda.
It was
use your
cool.
hate.
So they go looking for Prime. They finally find Prime and Skylinks, and I was hoping Skylinks.
He does this. The funniest thing in this is, and you get to see it in the trailer too. The moment where you see Megatron doing this big, all the red and black like energy waves around him. It's like he's trying to go freaking Super Saiyan.
Those this giant blast, and Skylink
that was hilarious.
Skylink is like, "I've got this, Prime. You run." I'm like, dude, you could just avoid that shit.
He got so angry. He basically looked like the Nemesis was on fire.
Yeah. It was a big ass beam. That
was the most absurd thing I had seen.
It's like this entire time, it's like, you guys could have just moved out of the way. What? Why did you?
Yeah, just do Han Solo, drift lazily to the left.
So Skylink is dying. He just poofs. Prime's like, "Well, damn, let's go."
Skylink sacrifices himself to save the others.
Yeah,
in an act of redemption.
He would have been better. In
doing so, Megatron fails to kill Optimus. Therefore, Galvatron gets pulled back into his timeline by Orson Welles, and I'm guessing that timeline no longer exists now.
I mean, it is the multiverse, just because, as the Avengers have told us, just because one thing happens doesn't mean that this one is time travel. It hurts my head. But it was cool seeing Unicron.
Oh, that CG version. Oh, so
That was so
good.
good.
So good. Now give us a goddamn good toy.
They did. It was a couple
We
$100.
we haven't had a good one since the Armada toy.
No, they had that one from Pulse.
Oh, what, the $700 or the $7,000 one or whatever it was?
It made it. It made it. People bought it.
Yeah, but something affordable, for God's sake.
You want something scaled, you got to pay the price, man. Maybe somebody's selling it on eBay.
No, sorry, I'm not dealing with those scalpers. No, I've got my Armada Unicron. He'll have to do, because I got the Armada Unicron in the movie colors.
So after that happens and Prime gets out, and I was also mad that Skylinks got blown up because like, hey, there's your transportation right there now. No, it wasn't meant to be. He dies. Galvatron goes away, like you said. Megatron goes, well, damn. And
but at this point, I have to be curious because the hole that was there that was used by the Autobots to escape from the dead world or whatever they called it, or the afterworld or whatever they called it, could this be what caused the ending to occur?
I don't think so, because we still had one more episode. And if you remember, so during that, after that sequence played out, you still had the Nemesis, you still had the Ark, and you had the other
Ark. But the thing is, the Ark and the Nemesis went through that same portal.
Right.
But the thing is, that portal, was that just like a standardized space bridge one, or is it?
That's what it was.
That type of portal.
That's what it was.
Then what indicator was there in episode 6 where they did the transfer?
So it was only implied, because when they were in one part of space and they ended up going to the other part of space, and all the ships that were there followed along. Because remember, the Fortune, the ship the Coneheads and the mercenaries were in, followed as well. And there's no way they all could have reached the same point different times unless they were together. So it acted like a space bridge that eventually went away. Because once they all came through, it was over. That portal disappeared.
Yeah,
it was gone. And then
yes, but if you remember in the start of a certain series, they did the same type of thing.
Right.
They thought that they were going through a portal through space, but they went through a different type.
I don't want to think about that. Because I'm not going to go back and retcon OG. These
are the things I like watching.
This is
what goes on in here.
This is why they said the different timeline. It's a brand new timeline. It pulls bits and pieces.
I'm not saying it goes into that specific timeline. It could go into an alternate version of that.
You're thinking hypothetically that could have been a thing that happened and how they got there. It could be.
Yeah.
I'm not going to think about
it. There's questions to be answered. Let's just call it that.
So, all right. So, following up what the events with Galvatron, Megatron, Prime, and Skylinks, you're now at the part where they get through the space bridge hole. Skylinks is now dead.
Prime has the Allspark back.
Prime has the Allspark back. But then he loses. Okay, so there goes to a sequence of events. There's a space fight. We're getting back.
There was. I don't know. Did he get the Allspark back, or was it just he did like Megatron and learned how to unleash his feelings? He did some sort of massive beam thing.
He didn't get the Allspark back. He learned how to find it. He learned how to attune himself with the Matrix. He had the Matrix. So then...
yes, that's right. The Matrix and the Allspark are two separate entities.
Right. So after this, there's a sequence where Megatron and Prime fight again. There's a space battle. This is where the Quintesson pops up again, because the Quintesson's in the Fortune and she's firing everybody. The Decepticons leave. They leave the Nemesis, and they end up on an Ark. They end up on an Ark. They were so fighting.
Because they have to end up on the Ark for certain events.
They're fighting. Megatron gets the Matrix and Prime.
Yeah,
because he needs it. Because we glossed over one thing. I wanted to say that. I wanted to see if Karl would say it, because this is a big spoiler. So as Galvatron is getting pulled away back to his timeline, he throws.
I wasn't good. He does throw a certain object to Megatron that will make everybody go, "Holy crap!"
Yeah. So I'm not.
But we are not going to say what it is.
Not say what it is, but we have to reference that part because it falls in place to this because it tells him they'll go do this if you can't do this. So they're fighting. Megatron gets the Matrix from Prime. He hightails it back to the Nemesis, and then both these ships don't have any power.
But they were fighting and they take down during the battle. Though we should also point this out, they do take down the Fortune.
Well, I don't want to say they take down the Fortune. They don't take down the Fortune.
Well, it's implied that they take down the Fortune with a certain someone.
That's what I wanted to get to. There's an unsung hero in this series. And we're going to say who it is because it's not as bad. We're allowed to talk about this guy. So Cog is basically this Transformer that gets his butt kicked throughout this.
He's the most generic Transformer in the entire series.
There were two of them. There was a red color Cog that he didn't have a name that Scorponok killed. He threw him against the wall and blew him up. And then there's Cog.
Yeah, but then we've got Cog in this one, who seems to survive everything somehow. We don't know how, but he survives everything. He ends up on the Fortune, and he takes out, or does he drive out?
He drives him out.
He drives out the Quintesson, and he starts trying to radio both the Ark and the Nemesis, saying, "Stop firing! The Quintessons are gone. Stop firing." And then he realizes the comms aren't working, and he sort of just slumps, and he's like, "Please, just stop firing," as explosions go off all around him.
So again, this is where the ships have no energy to propel themselves, and they're stuck in, I guess, the gravity of a certain planet.
Free fall.
And this is where we get the Nemesis versus the Ark, which is we saw in OG Transformers, where the Nemesis doesn't have any power, so it uses this tractor beam to pull itself to the Ark and essentially act as a battering ram. It's ramming the Ark, and the Ark is falling apart. Meanwhile, the Ark is firing on the Fortune where Cog is, where he's saying, "Please stop firing on me." So he blows up. Well, hopefully he doesn't die, but the Fortune blows up and causes an explosion, and I think it pushes the Nemesis away, and the Ark is free to go. And this is where,
and by that point, the Ark's in free fall due to the gravity of the nearby planet that they were fighting around, and the Ark, as predictable in the Transformers series, if there's an Ark, it's going to crash. So it crashes, and that's pretty much the end of this part, leading with a great tease for King.
Yeah, we are not allowed to talk.
We don't want to spoil it. The tease for Kingdom, unless you already know what Kingdom is, then hey, you're gonna have a leg up. But this is going to be a huge moment where every fan is just gonna pop something hard for this.
Yeah.
Like when I watched it, I messaged Keith going, "Oh my god, we're getting this! Come on, let's go, part 3. I want it now. Let's go."
Yeah, and they actually revealed where this was heading to a while back. If you actually watched it, it was like back at the beginning of September, where Hasbro showed us some toys. So if you watch
if you're a toy fan, you already know where this is headed. If you're just watching the show on Netflix, you're going to be surprised.
Yeah,
we'll sort of leave that particular section at that.
The only sad part
maybe
is
because Netflix has said no.
We won't see Kingdom for a while.
Kingdom. Well, actually, when did we get Siege? We got Siege in what, June?
Summer. Yeah, we got it beginning of summer.
We got it in like June. We got Earthrise in December, so a 6-month turnaround. I wouldn't be surprised if we see Kingdom by probably somewhere between April and June next year.
The only thing that makes me mad about this is, again, they kind of spoiled a lot of stuff for Kingdom because, again, the toys are out. And that's very frustrating because you can easily go look and see, oh, hey guys, we see what's up. And that's...
Well, it's you can see who is going to be a part of Kingdom, but you're not going to see the context, which is why you watch the Netflix series.
Yeah, you definitely want to watch this. And again, we didn't tell you everything, obviously, because we want you to watch it. But I think at this point, Karl, I just want to talk about my thoughts about this, what I liked, what I didn't like.
Yeah.
Just to get it to close out.
For it.
I think in comparison to the first one, to Siege, this one was completely better. The story flow better.
Much better pacing, better storytelling,
Yeah.
character development, absolutely brilliant.
Yeah.
There was enough in there for new and old Transformers fans alike. So if you've had fans who have come in on more recent years who might have come in on like the IDW comic series or just watching the Cybertron trilogies, you know, the ones that start on Machinima or something like that, or even if you've got like a young kid who's only watched the Cyberverse series, you know, there's little bits for them.
So terrible. Don't watch
You
that.
know, if you're like old school G1 old men like us, you know, with plenty of references about in this to keep us entertained and going, hey, look at that! Oh, did you hear that line and stuff like that? Yeah, this was definitely a much better series overall.
I loved it.
Like
I loved it.
Absolutely brilliant. Like as soon as I was done with this, I wanted to start talking about it, and then I realized I had actually watched this a long time before it's actually due out. Like we were actually recording this probably about 10 or so days before the embargo is up, which is about nearly 2 weeks before the show hits. I want to talk to people now about it, and the only one I can talk about it is Keith.
Well, I'm sorry, you're stuck. Sorry.
Right, it's not that bad. You and I have some pretty good Transformers discussions.
It was just interesting because I watched this with my wife, and she knows.
I'm actually tempted to watch this with my missus as well.
I would do it if she's any sort of fan. I would do it. So she sat on the couch.
We'll do it this evening then.
She sat on the couch and she's watched it, and I'm watching her face, and she's saying things to me. She's like that and that and that, and I'm like, see, I know my stuff, and I'm like, okay, you know some of it, and we'll watch it. But at the very end, the part that we can't talk about, she was like, I don't understand. I'm like, what?
Now we have to educate.
And then I went. I literally stopped. I went to YouTube. It's like, that's that guy. He came from over here. It's because of this. And
really, me. I'm gonna pull out all 3 seasons of the DVDs and throw them at her. Go watch this.
Here's the thing. So when we lived in our old house, I had the special edition version, and it might be the same one you have, the color DVDs and everything. And when I moved,
those nice shiny, the shiny covered versions.
Yeah. And when I moved,
I have those as well.
It disappeared. So
I still have mine. They're all sitting in a box nearby, probably just outside my office. Actually,
you notice how we're not really saying what
my collection
is because we can't refer to it. But
see, my collection is like insane with Transformers DVDs because I have pretty much all the early stuff, which is great.
But it was interesting talking to her about what had transpired and where it was going, and we had this long conversation.
Yeah.
And she's like, "Is that boop?" And I was like, "That's not boop. That is boop. Aren't they part of the boop? No, there's only one boop." Oh, yeah. It was fun talking to her. And then
see the one thing is like I'm a part of a friend's Discord, and he's a Transformers toy reviewer by the name of TJ Omega. I've mentioned a couple of times on podcasts and stuff. He actually works with TFW2005.com as part of one of their podcasts. I wanted to tell him everything that happened in this. Like, I jumped on and I'm like, dude, I want to tell you so much about this, but I know you're going to want to watch Earthrise yourself. All I'm going to say is I am hyped about this, where this series is going. I enjoyed Earthrise, really, amazing, great storytelling, everything. And he actually replied to me, he said, I'm surprised because you're a very hard person to please when it comes to things like Transformers and that you're really into.
No, it was good.
And I said, no, man, I am hyped. I want to
very good. Yeah,
I want to talk. I want to talk I want to go into any Transformers Discord or chat room or forum, and I want to talk about this series now. But we have to wait until it comes out.
There'll be a lot of conversation once it's here, because I would like to have an open show on YouTube where we can just talk to all the fans about this, because it was really good. There is one part in the trailer.
I think what we'll probably end up doing is once Kingdom comes out, we're going to do something very similar to this, but we are going to basically discuss the entire series from start to finish, Seas, Earthrise, and Kingdom.
So there is a part in the trailer that Netflix is showing that it did disappoint me because I was hoping it would happen. So we do see a part where we see what looks to be Nemesis Prime. It's not Nemesis Prime. Sorry.
Yeah, that's what I meant by the term Nemesis has multiple connotations.
It's not him. I was like, yeah, no, damn it, come on. I was hoping it would
because the way the trailer phrased it was they were talking about the Nemesis project at the time.
I know what they were talking about. I know what they were talking about.
Yeah, so did I. But the way they phrased it in the trailer, I'm like, oh come on, they're trying to tease Nemesis Prime, really?
It would have been nice to see it, but no, it didn't happen, guys. Sorry. All I can say is Kingdom is going to be very good for longtime fans of the Transformers series. You're going to want to see this. And this changes. Now that I've thought about it, this changes a lot. Again, different timeline, different universe, but it's going to change a lot of things of what you know about the Transformers world. It's going to be cool.
That's sort of been the entire thing I did pick up through Earthrise. Was that, yes, it is a different timeline. It is not your Generation 1 timeline through the what's that one I have over here somewhere? Victory. It is not that timeline.
Nope.
But at the same time, a lot of the events that played out in that particular timeline are being played out again, just in a different order with subtle changes to make it be a different series.
Yeah, and that's what makes it so good.
It's same story told from a different style. And that's what I think is going to be the biggest appeal for this whole War of Cybertron series, or the trilogy, is that it is something that it's doing what the 2012 Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles did. Familiar stories, familiar ideas, familiar characters, just told in a different way, in a different style.
You know what I also thought about? I didn't see that before. You did bring it up and mentioning. I remember I did say that Magnus Prime and Megatron were disciples. Remember when he took away the Matrix from Optimus Prime? What did he call him? He said, "I'll see you, Orion Pax." It's like, how did you know him when he was Orion Pax as well? See, it's like it's just all that stuff right there. Again, again, it's the connections and the stories that are being retold. Even in G1, remember there was the Aerial Bots episode where they go back in time and they meet Orion Pax. But that was interesting.
And they also see an early Megatron.
Right.
So, and then at the end of the episode, they actually call, I think it's Silverbolt actually calls Optimus Prime Orion Pax.
And then Optimus Prime goes, "So you were the 5 that saved me." It's like, did you just rewrite the timeline?
Or were they events that were supposed to happen?
And everybody's like, "What does that mean?"
That's the thing. That's the thing with time travel. And this is what happens when because of Doctor Who fans. Sometimes certain events, even time travel, were meant to happen in the timeline for certain events to progress.
Yeah, I remember that one because that one was also an interesting one because that episode. Sorry, we're getting
wibbly wobbly, timey-wimey stuff.
We're getting off topic here, but that episode was interesting because that was when Orion Pax became Prime without the Matrix. And then there was always a speculation that his girlfriend at the time ended up becoming Elita 1. But it was never It was
implied, never shown.
And then it was also implied that his friend, who also got blown up, ended up being Ultra Magnus. We don't know that either.
Yeah. But again, there have been and this goes to the more recent stories that have come out. A lot of this does pull from the IDW stuff. I know I've mentioned it quite a lot of times. Again, Megatron being friends with Orion Pax. So he is one of the few Transformers who still turns around every now and again and calls Optimus Prime Orion Pax out of habit.
Yep. And it wasn't because Prime did the thing in the cartoons where you would see Hot Rod who lost the Matrix, or Rodimus Prime who would lose the Matrix and would become Hot Rod. No, Prime didn't become a younger version or anything.
Optimus Prime was always He was the same mode model and everything
Yeah.
else in most of these, but he just takes on a different name, or he sort of gets a bit more bulky. I think it's a most recent comic book, Transformers issue 25, that's recently come out, actually did the whole Orion Pax Optimus Prime thing, and there was not much difference in the character model.
Mm.
He just sort of looked a bit more stoic, and sort of the shape was a bit more traditional.
There's a noise outside my window, and it feels like somebody's throwing something at my window, but it's actually this stupid ornament. And it's like, stop it, stop it.
But look, I can't
good.
really praise Earthrise any more than I already have.
Netflix did a great job. This was good.
Yeah, this has been an absolutely great job. The only thing that I will, and this has been a constant complaint I have had about it, has been the casting. Like the guy they got in for Megatron, he's not bad, but there's a point in this, and I don't know whether they'll fix it up by the time release happens, or whether it's just our preview copies.
No,
from episode 4 through 6, the guy that's playing Optimus Prime, Jake something or other, starts with an F. I can't remember off the top of my head. Either they didn't do the right voice modulation to get that Prime voice, or he had a bad throat or something. But in those last 2 to 3 episodes, his voice just sounds off. Even from his previous performances in the season or even Siege, something sounded off about him as Prime. And I can't really put my finger on it, or it's maybe in my head, my brain just replaced it with Peter Cullen automatically. You know, but yeah, there's just something off about it. Like, and this is the thing with Netflix, they use a lot of non-union voice acting when it comes to their shows. That's why Neon Genesis Evangelion got a redub. So, you know, unfortunately, we are not going to get the performance that we really wanted, which was, again, as per usual, we want Peter Cullen as Optimus Prime.
Cullen
we want
is
Frank
Prime.
Welker
is Megatron.
Come
on.
Yeah, Frank Welker, we always want him as Megatron. He is Megatron to a lot of generations. Peter Cullen is Optimus Prime, no matter what you look at. There's very, very few situations outside of, I'd say, probably Beast Wars and like the subsequent series like Animated and Cyberverse and stuff like that, where they've put other people than Peter in the role. But the mainline series, even the Michael Bay movies, you know, Peter Cullen was Optimus Prime, and the fact that he isn't in this, it just feels off. But he does an alright impression with the right voice modulation, but I just think they missed it in a couple of episodes or something. Something just sounded off. And that's the only gripe I have about this entire series. Otherwise,
that aside, I didn't have a problem with the show. Again, everything from a story standpoint, from a narrative standpoint, was great. It was perfect. I had no problems, none, except it was way too short. Way too short.
Yeah.
I think I went through it in like 2.5 hours. It was like 20 minutes or something like an episode, and that was it. And it's 6 episodes, so
yeah, about 23 to 24 minutes per episode over 6 episodes. You got about 2.5 hours, and that time flies. Like, you'll think maybe an hour's gone, and you're sitting there at the end of episode 6, going, "What the hell happened?"
the time literally flew, and I was devastated. I was like, "Wow!" And then there's a lot of stuff that we haven't even said, because there's a lot of nostalgia in there, and we don't want to spoil it for you. But there are a number of moments where I literally just geeked the hell out because they dropped the reference or it said something, and I was like, "Wow, what?" Yeah, and I'm a big fan of Omega Supreme, and this is
the love letter season. This is the love letter to G1 fans. Which is what we've been wanting. You know, Keith didn't get Omega Supreme like he wanted, but you know, you can't always have the big powerful guys rocking up every season. Like, if it was me, I would have loved to have seen, give us some Devastator, give us some Bruticus, give us
But there was a reference.
your
There was a reference in there.
Minosaurs.
There was a reference in there.
Plenty of references. There's plenty of references, but come on. With that art style, oh my god!
I've always been a fan of Omega Supreme. I've always wanted Omega Supreme as a child. I never got him. I finally got one not too long ago. But he has always been my favorite Transformer in the back in the day because he was like, I don't take anybody's crap. Screw you.
I've always wanted an Omega Supreme, and I have never been able to buy one.
They came out.
They've always been that real expensive toy.
They came out with the new one a couple of months ago. The was it the War for Cybertron one? Actually, yeah. He's actually
but
cool.
I'm talking like what do they call it? It's not Legend class. What's the one? Voyager class? I think is the one above.
Yeah, that one came.
Like
that's one. Yeah, that's the one that just came out.
Like I'm talking about the damn thing came in a box. Like
yeah,
bigger than the damn screen.
Yeah, it was the War for Cybertron one. It was $150. It was pretty good.
$400 Australian.
That's crazy. You guys
it's the same reason. It's the same reason why I didn't get the Devastator when they did that.
Yeah, he was
that big re-release.
That one. He's a Titan class.
That one. Yeah, sorry, Titan class. That's what they are. The Titan class. Like I wanted the Devastator, $300. I wanted the Omega Supreme, $400.
Wow.
I can't afford these big figures, man. I can't afford these big figures. The most I might go for is I might get a Leader class Prime or Megatron, but even those are $100 a pop.
That's crazy. But yeah,
as you well know, Australian pricing.
But just to sign off here because Carl's got to go eat and do stuff. He just it's morning for him. He's hungry. Australia. So he's the one that's a big favor by jumping on early.
I need my Energon cubes, damn it.
It's 9 o'clock for me, so it was a pleasure checking out this season, second part of
big thank you to Netflix for allowing us to have early access to this. This was one of those like Christmas gifts done early for us.
Yeah, it was good
as fans. So
I can't wait for the rest of
Netflix for allowing us.
I can't wait for the rest of you guys to see this. This is going to be great. You're going to love it, and then we'll have other people to talk to about this. I keep wanting to say season, series, whatever, second part, whatever,
part, whatever.
Well, and then we'll all get to speculate what happens in the next one, which we gotta know what happens, but you'll have to wait.
But hopefully by the time this comes out, you'll only have maybe a day or two left to wait. But please, if you guys have comments, theories, what you like, didn't like, leave them in the comments section of our YouTube channel, or feel free to contact myself or Keith. I'm sure we've got Twitter information up on the screen.
Nope, but the time this video goes up, we will. I will say this. I will say one more thing before I go. I really love the fact, and I alluded to this earlier, I love the fact that we didn't have just one. We had 3 strong female Transformers. That was awesome. Because in the original Transformers, you got to see a Leader 1 twice. Chrono, the girl, the blue one.
Chromia.
Yeah. It was Chromia and Leader 1, and RC was with Prime.
I forgot about Chromia.
The one that looks like Cup. The one that looks like Cup.
Yeah. Yeah, because like a lot of this season or part or whatever focused on the mix between the Leader 1 and RC for most of it. I forgot she was even there, the other one.
Yeah, she was there. Leader, jeez. God, you got me doing it. RC was kicking butt. She was kicking butt. Yeah. So I loved it.
But that's, again, great storytelling, great characterization. Sure, as you can see, we've stumbled over trying to tell some characters apart from time to time, but that's because there was so many characters and references and situations where it was just, it's a lot to take in. Like, this season was extremely jam-packed.
Yeah, it was.
With everything. So
not enough time to
it might yeah, well, that's it. Hopefully we can unpack that as we rewatch this multiple times over the
I think if there is going to be any complaints about that, it's going to be that it was just too much, just like the first one jammed into 6 episodes.
Well, you ain't seen nothing yet. Wait till we get to Kingdom.
Oh, that's going to be good. I hope that one's the exception, but I'm pretty sure I saw a listing where that one only has 6 as well.
6 episodes. So, yeah, it's 6 episodes. 6 episodes per part. That's the way they're doing it. And that's the one thing that's sort of starting to get my grip in Netflix in general,
Oh, sorry about that.
We love it. We love it anyway. Thank you once again, Netflix, for giving us the access, and thank you for watching us ramble on for probably an hour.
Yeah, it was freaking
About
awesome.
this show.
Thanks for stopping in and listening to this ranting of two Transformers fans. Please, as always, we are doing a big push for our video footage on YouTube, so we would love for you to like and subscribe to our channel. And if you don't like what we're talking about, do us a favor and tell us why. Don't just say, "Hey, you guys, you suck." We're here for valid criticism, critique, because we want to grow our channel. We want to engage with our fans as we've been doing. So obviously, telling us something good and or bad is always a positive for us. And hit the notification bell to know when new videos come up, because we got a lot of them coming up. Things like this, gameplay, ranting about movies and games and stuff. So you ain't seen nothing yet. And as always, you can always check our stuff out on Google Podcasts, Audio Boom, Buzzsprout, Google Podcasts. I think I said iTunes, if not iTunes, and Stitcher. And
as always, you can find a lot of our articles, news, reviews, and other bits and bobs, including rants, raves, and everything else, over at theouterhaven.net, where you should be going for your first stop in pop culture and other news items.
And loud kids who don't know how to shut up.
So sit them down and watch Transformers.
I mean, I guess you could. I mean, no, we can't, unfortunately. Damn.
Educate your kids, son. Educate your kids.
Yeah. Thanks for watching. Bye. Bye.